there was a lot of speculation 3 years ago where we were, where we're going to be going, what it's going to look like. And I'm sad to tell you where we are today is we're almost in the same spot as far as knowing really where we're going, what's going to happen, what the impact is. Although there's a cloud growing almost like a storm out there. And it's not a political statement. And it's hitting everybody regardless of whether a person's a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or no party affiliation whatsoever. I'm going to start with a little bit of show and tell since we're in school, if that's all right. Over on my left, the stack of papers, which would be, I guess, on your left, the short stack, that is the bill. 2,900 pages is what it is now. That I would guess that probably 95 to 96% of the people who voted to encumber this country with this piece of legislation never read. I don't blame them. I mean, they got it about 48 hours before they're supposed to vote, and you're supposed to read that. Now, the second stack of paper that's a little bit higher, that should be 3 times as high. Okay, because that's 5,000 pages, the second stack. That is the companion bills that go along with the 2,900 page bill. And if you are going to read the 2,900 page bill, it refers to over 15,000 pages of legislation that is affected by the 2,900 pages. So if you can imagine that stack being 15,000 pages high, now you really know why nobody looked at it. We have to pass this in order to find out what's in it. Could you imagine if your local school board said, we're going to increase the tax levy and we're going to put a bill in place of what we're going to do with that, but we can't really tell you what's in it because none of us have read it, but we're going to pass this and we want all of you in the community to support us and take our word for it, and we're going to put a 1.5% sales tax to pay for what we can't really tell you what we're going to do for you. What would happen at with a local governmental body like that? The reality of it is, because it's done at the federal level, so many people have gotten to the point where they just say, what's the use? We can't affect it. We can't do anything. Well, I don't believe that, and I think that the people still can. It's going to take some pretty significant steps to do it.
I'm an orthopedic surgeon in Mason City, and I don't want to put myself out as I'm an expert of what's in this bill. I got to admit I didn't read any of the 2,900 pages, but I am somebody who is putting up with the regulations. The government in this bill has done the exact opposite what they should have done. They took the most inefficient ways of incentivizing people to do well and be responsible for their health care expenditures, and they made those programs bigger. A lot bigger. At the expense of the people that are paying their bills. Well, that's exactly what they want us to do. I mean, they want us to ration care, but they don't have the courage to do it themselves. And that's what they did in this bill. I can tell you, because I'm practicing blue-collar medicine, on call every 6th night, taking all the trauma people in North Iowa. I get up in the middle of the night for the poor people, I get in the middle of the night for the rich people. Been doing that for 17, 18 years in Mason City. I've never asked anybody if they can pay. Mercy Hospital takes care of everybody that we can. And so when people are saying they're denied health care, I want to know who they are. The children in particular. We have a program in Iowa called Hawkeye, or it used to be called Hawkeye, now it's changed. And 97% of the kids in the state of Iowa are covered by it, that are covered by some health care. And the 3% that aren't, either they're Amish people and they don't want anything to do with the government, or their parents are so incompetent they don't sign up for the free insurance. And that reflects, human nature. It's like being in the smorgasbord. When you don't have to pay for it, you're going to leave a lot of food on the table when you walk out of there. And that's what I see in healthcare. When people deductible net, hell yeah, give me an MRI. I'm not paying for it. I got my deductible net. With no sense of what it's costing somebody.
if the government accountants would have done their homework, they would have been far better off to go and buy an off-the-shelf insurance product from Mike to insure the uninsured, rather than spending all the time and money and energy to put this system in place. And that's a mathematical fact. When you crunch the numbers on it, you would have been better. But this plan is complex by design, and I think that it is pretty relevant that the people that have really been pushing this really wanted a single-payer, British Canadian style single-payer system is what they wanted. They knew that they could not get that. So what you have in front of you, and it's the only thing that makes sense to me, to have a 2,900-page bill with 15,000 pages of companion bills, the only reason that they wanted to push that through was to create something so complex, so unwieldy, so doomed for failure, that people would throw up their hands and say, go all the way and take care of us with the Canadian-style system. And that used to be a conspiracy theory, but anymore, if you truly look at what's in the bill, that is reality. Maybe we can come back in another 2 years and see how right we were on that.
I'm going to start with the employers, and there's really two different types of employers when you look at how this law was designed. It's employers with 50 or more employees, or employers with 50 or less than 50 employees. So let's start with the one that is the employer that's less than 50 employees. They really do not have a requirement under the law to provide health care coverage to their employees today. And that's going to be true when we get to 2014 as well. It's not going to be a really fast process, but it'll be slow and steady. You're going to see the smaller employers start to drop coverage because they don't want to deal with the regulations that come along with the law, and they really don't have any penalty for doing so. They're actually sometimes incentivized to do so because many of their employees may qualify for what's termed a subsidy under the new law. Many of these employees may actually get what I would call better and more affordable coverage if they have a low enough income to receive a subsidy. So let's talk more about the employers that are over 50 employees. These are the employers that are going to be affected the most. These are the employers that, while they're not required to provide insurance to their employees, if they decide not to cover their employees, they'll incur a penalty. But that penalty is going to be a non-deductible tax expense of $2,000 per employee, except you get the first 30 employees free. So if you're a 130 life employer, you don't offer health insurance coverage to your employees, you take 130 minus 30, gives you 100 times $2,000 a year. It's a $200,000 non-deductible business expense. So what can you expect prices to do from the employers that are falling into that category? Prices of their products are going to go up. So when you think about it from an individual point of view, pretty much every American is going to be required to have some sort of coverage once we get to 2014 and going forward. The bill actually requires you to have insurance, or you pay a penalty to the government as well if you do not purchase insurance. You pay that penalty through your taxes at the end of the year. So if you make $30,000 a year, your penalty if you did not buy insurance would be $300 a year. Not a large number when you look at the scope of what insurance actually costs. Like I said though, the small employers, it may actually be in the employees and the employer's best interest that they drop coverage. So you may really, really, really like your coverage, but you might have to go to the exchange anyway.
As a member of these boards, I help purchase people's health care insurance as well. And one of the things that we talked about this last weekend was, well, how are we going to handle this as an employer? One of the options for us that's on the table yet is that we do a defined benefits program. We're going to avoid all the taxes and regulations Obamacare is putting on individual employers. And basically, I say, here's $5,000, do what you want with it. But you gotta go buy healthcare as part of the deal, you taking the $5,000. But they give me an out, they're gonna take some of the pressure off of me if I just give you the money and you go find it. Well, where do you go? You gotta go to the exchange. And who's running the exchange? The government's running the exchange. And hence, it was a lie. You can't keep your healthcare insurance. They are going to change it.